There's a lie that has been sold to the American middle class for the last 40 years. It is a lie wrapped in flannel smelling of fresh sawdust and scored by an upbeat acoustic guitar track on a Saturday morning television show. The lie is this: that doing it yourself is always the cheaper option. We have been conditioned to believe that labor is the only variable in the cost equation, and that by substituting our own sweat for a professional's invoice, we are somehow cheating the system. But I am here to tell you that DIY is often not a money-saving strategy. In the modern American economy, DIY is a luxury. It is a hobby, and frequently it is a financial trap that costs you double what the retail price would have been. I need to confess something to you. I need to take you back to a version of myself from 5 years ago, standing in the middle of a garage that looked like a bomb had gone off inside a Lowe's lumber aisle. I had decided in a fit of inexplicable confidence that I was going to build a farmhouse dining table. I had seen a picture on Instagram. It looked rustic. It looked simple. The caption said, "Lumber costs $50. I didn't just want a table. I wanted the identity of the person who builds tables. I wanted to be capable. I wanted to be self-reliant. Fast forward 3 weekends. I had spent $400 on a miter saw. I didn't know how to calibrate. I had spent $200 on stains, polyurethanes, brushes, sanding pads, and wood glue. I had spent 40 hours of my lifetime. I could have used to rest, to work, or to actually be with my family. And the result, a table that wobbled, a table with gaps between the planks where crumbs would inevitably fall and rot, a table that was so heavy it threatened the structural integrity of my floor, yet so fragile the finish started peeling within a month. When I finally dragged that monstrosity to the curb 2 years later to be hauled away, I did the math. Between the tools, the wasted materials, the gas for the 6 trips to Home Depot, and the value of my time calculated at even a minimum wage, that table cost me over $1,000. I could have walked into a furniture store, pointed at a beautiful, professionally made table, paid $600, and had it delivered while I drank coffee. This brings me to the uncomfortable question we need to answer today. At what point does our obsession with saving money actually become a manifestation of ego that destroys our wealth? When does the price of your pride exceed the price of the product? We have to look at the machinery behind this delusion. Why do we do this? It is not just about being thrifty. If it were just about being thrifty, we would buy used furniture. We would live with the old beige cabinets. No, this is about the industrial complex of the home improvement culture. We are living in the era of the renovation porn complex. Turn on the TV, open YouTube, scroll through TikTok. You are bombarded with time-lapse videos of transformations that condense 3 weeks of agonizing, dusty, back-breaking labor into 15 seconds of satisfying visual ASMR. Marketing in America has shifted brilliance. They stopped selling us products and started selling us potential. When you walk into a massive hardware store, you aren't just buying a drill. You are buying the fantasy that you are the kind of person who builds decks on the weekend. You are buying an antidote to the modern feeling of uselessness. Many of us sit at computers all day. We send emails. We attend Zoom meetings. We produce nothing tangible. The allure of the DIY project is the illusion of competence. It promises us that we can still manipulate the physical world with our hands. But here is the reality check. The system is designed to sell you the tools, not the result. The profit margins on raw materials and specialized equipment are astronomical. They know that for every one person who successfully refinishes their hardwood floors, there are 10 people who buy the sander, buy the wrong grit paper, ruin a 3-square-foot patch of their hallway, give up, and then hire a professional to come fix the mess. The peer pressure of the suburbs is real. There is a silent competition in American neighborhoods. If you hire a guy to paint your fence, you're seen as financially frivolous or lazy. If you do it yourself, you're virtuous. But this is a false economy. We completely ignore the opportunity cost. In economics, opportunity cost is the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. Every hour you spend fighting with a leaky pipe is an hour you are not investing in your actual career, your health, or your relationship. Let's dismantle the 7 specific projects where this savings mindset goes to die. The kitchen cabinet repaint. Let's start with the titan of DIY disasters, painting your own kitchen cabinets. This is the gateway drug of home renovation. You look at your dated oak cabinets, you see a kit for $70 and you think, it's just paint. How hard can it be? The psychology. Our brains love the idea of surface-level transformation. We crave the before and after dopamine hit. Painting feels low risk because it's reversible, or so we think. We convince ourselves that the difference between a factory finish and a hand-rolled finish is invisible. We tell ourselves that good enough is acceptable, but deep down we want it to look like a magazine cover. The hard truth. Here is what the YouTube tutorial didn't show you. To paint cabinets correctly, you need to remove every single door and drawer front. You need to number them. You need to degrease them with industrial chemicals because kitchen grease is the enemy of paint adhesion. You need to sand them. Not a light scuff, you need to sand them down. Then you need to prime, then sand again, then paint, then sand again, then top coat. If you use a brush or a roller, you will have texture. It will look like a landlord special. It will feel tacky to the touch for months. Within 6 months, the paint around the handles will start to chip because you didn't use a 2-part catalytic varnish like the pros do. You will spend weeks of your life living in a kitchen covered in drop cloths, eating takeout because you can't cook. And in the end, you have devalued your home because savvy buyers can spot a DIY cabinet paint job from the front door. The question: if you had to pay yourself $50 an hour for the time you spent sanding corners in a dust-filled garage, would you have just bought new doors? The swap instead of the full paint job, try the hardware and lighting swap. Change the handles, pulls, and hinges to modern matte black or brushed brass. Install under-cabinet lighting. It costs a fraction of the time and money, requires zero skill, and updates the look without risking a chipped, peeling nightmare. The plumbing quick fix. Number 2 is anything involving water supply lines. I'm not talking about plunging a toilet. I'm talking about replacing a faucet, swapping a shower valve, or installing a bidet attachment when you have zero experience with torque or Teflon tape. The psychology this stems from the "it looks so simple" logic. It's just screwing things together, right? Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. We resent paying a plumber $200 for a service call that lasts 15 minutes. It feels like highway robbery. So our ego steps in to beat the system. The hard truth: water is the most destructive force in your home. It is patient and it is relentless. A DIY plumbing job might look dry when you finish it, but a slow leak inside a vanity or behind a wall can go undetected for weeks. By the time you notice the warped baseboards or the musty smell, you aren't looking at a plumbing bill anymore. You are looking at a mold remediation bill. You are looking at replacing subfloors and drywall. Professional plumbers aren't charging you for the 15 minutes of work. They are charging you for the insurance that their work won't flood your living room while you are on vacation. The cost of a specialized wrench you use once, plus the anxiety of, did I tighten that enough? Plus the potential catastrophe makes this a terrible gamble. The question: are you willing to bet your home's structural integrity to save the cost of a nice dinner out? The swap: find a trusted handyman for the small stuff, not a master plumber, but a generalist who has insurance. Or a focus on fixture aesthetics that don't involve the water line. Change the toilet seat, not the toilet. Change the shower curtain, not the shower valve. The custom shelving or built-in unit. We have all seen them. The wall-to-wall bookcases made of construction lumber and pipes. The custom closet organizer made of particle board. The psychology: we have a spatial need, we have too much stuff and nowhere to put it. Custom joinery is outrageously expensive, often costing thousands. So we think I can build a box shelves or just horizontal boxes. This is the intersection of the need for organization and the desire for permanence. We want to add architectural value to our home. The hard truth: lumber is no longer cheap. Since the supply chain shifts of the early 2020s, the cost of wood has remained volatile and high. Furthermore, construction lumber from a big box store is wet. It is not kiln-dried for furniture making. You build that beautiful built-in, and 3 months later, as the wood dries in your climate-controlled house, it shrinks. Caulk lines crack. Gaps open up. Doors stop closing. And let's talk about the finish. Getting a smooth, professional paint finish on raw plywood requires a level of patience most human beings simply do not possess. You end up with a heavy, immovable object that looks great from 10 feet away, but looks like a high school shop project from 2 feet away. The question: is this shelf a permanent asset to your home, or is it a permanent monument to your stubbornness that the next owner will have to sledgehammer out? The swap: high-end IKEA hacks or est sales. Buy the mass-produced Billy bookcases, but invest in the trim work to make them look built-in. Or better yet, hunt for solid wood vintage furniture at estate sales. You get better materials, real oak or mahogany, for less than the price of raw pine lumber. Tiling backsplashes or floors. This is the project that breaks marriages. The logic is enticing. Tile is expensive per square foot, but the labor is the real killer. So you buy a wet saw, you buy the mortar, and you kneel down on the kitchen floor. The psychology: tiling feels like an art project. It's geometric. It's satisfying to place the pieces. It feels like putting together a puzzle. We visualize the clean white subway tile and the sleek gray grout, imagining how it will brighten the room. The hard truth: tiling is 90% preparation and 10% laying tile. If your wall or floor is not perfectly mathematically flat, you will have lippage. That's the technical term for when one tile sticks out slightly higher than the one next to it. It catches your toe. It catches the sponge. It casts a shadow. And then there is the grout. Grouting is a race against time before the cement hardens on the face of the tile. It is messy, panic-inducing work. And once it dries, it is permanent. If you mess up a paint job, you paint over it. If you mess up a tile job, you need a jackhammer. The cost of the wet saw, the trowels, the spacers, the float, the sponges, and the bucket's tools you will likely never use again eats up half your savings immediately. The question: do you have the obsessive-compulsive attention to detail required to look at a crooked grout line every morning while you make coffee and not let it ruin your day? The swap: if you need a change, look at the new generation of high-quality peel and stick tiles for backsplashes, not floors. Technology has come a long way. Or simply paint the existing tile. It's not a forever solution, but it buys you time to save for a professional. Refinishing hardwood floors. This is the holy grail of I regret everything. You rip up the carpet, find old hardwood, and decide to rent the drum sander from the hardware store. The psychology: we romanticize the hidden treasure aspect. We feel like archaeologists uncovering the original beauty of the home. It feels criminal to pay someone $3 a square foot when we can rent a machine for $50 a day. The hard truth: a drum sander is a beast. It is heavy, powerful, and difficult to control. If you pause for even a fraction of a second in one spot, it will gouge a valley into your floor that cannot be fixed. Professional floor refinishers spend years mastering the feathering technique. Then there is the dust. No matter how much plastic sheeting you tape up, the sawdust will find its way into your HVAC system, your clothes, your food, and your lungs. You will be finding dust 3 years from now. And the stain application: if you don't apply it evenly, you get lap marks. You ruin the very treasure you were trying to save. The question: is the history of your home worth destroying because you didn't want to pay for a professional's experience? The swap: area rugs. Seriously, cover the bad spots with high-quality, beautiful rug. It adds warmth, sound, dampening, and style. Save up to have the floors done professionally when you can afford to move out of the house for 3 days. Drywall and popcorn ceiling removal. The smooth ceiling, the flat wall, the modern aesthetic. The psychology: we associate textured walls and popcorn ceilings with being dated or cheap. We want the gallery look. We think it's just scraping and mudding. It's basically icing a cake. The hard truth: drywall finishing is not construction. It is an art form. It requires a specific muscle memory to feather out joint compound so it is perfectly smooth. When an amateur does it, you end up with humps, bubbles, and sanding marks. But the real cost here is health and sanity. Popcorn ceilings often contain asbestos if the house was built before the 80s. Even if they don't, the dust is horrific. You need a respirator, full-body suits, and industrial air filtration. Attempting this while living in the house is a recipe for respiratory issues and a marriage crisis. The light hits your ceiling at an angle, and every single imperfection screams at you. The question: how much is your lung capacity worth? The swap: learn to love the texture or use lighting to hide it. Uplighting draws attention to the ceiling texture. Downlighting hides it. Or install shiplap or beadboard planks over the popcorn. It covers the ugly without the mess of removal. Car maintenance beyond the wiper blades. Changing your own oil brake pads or alternators. The psychology: this is the ultimate masculine archetype trap, though it applies to everyone. We feel like we are getting ripped off by mechanics. We see the part costs $20 online, but the shop charges $100. We feel smart closing that gap. The hard truth: modern cars are computers on wheels. They are not the '69 Mustangs our grandfathers worked on. To change the oil on many modern cars, you need to remove skid plates, have special filter wrenches, and jack up the car safely. If the jack slips, you die. That is not hyperbole. Then you have gallons of toxic sludge, used oil that you have to transport to a recycling center in your clean car. You spend your Saturday in the driveway, knuckles bleeding grease under your fingernails for a week. And if you strip one bolt, if you cross-thread one nut, you now have a tow truck bill and a repair bill that is triple what the oil change would have cost at the express lube. The question: is your Saturday afternoon really worth only saving $30? The swap: find a local independent mechanic, not the dealership and not the chain store. Build a relationship with a local shop. The peace of mind and the warranty on their labor is the real value. Now I can feel the defensive comments being typed right now. But I enjoy building things, but I learned so much. If you enjoy it, if the process of sanding wood brings you genuine meditative peace, then ignore everything I just said. Because then it is not a chore, it is a hobby, and hobbies are allowed to cost money. We spend money on golf, on gaming, on travel. If DIY is your golf, go for it. But if you are doing it solely because you think you are beating the system, or because you are terrified of spending money on expertise, I want you to give yourself permission to stop. There's a concept in economics called comparative advantage. It means you should do what you are best at and trade for the rest. If you are good at accounting, be an accountant. Make your money there and pay a painter to paint. That is not laziness. That is efficiency. That is how wealth is actually built, by focusing your energy where it generates the highest return. We need to stop apologizing for buying back our time. We need to stop feeling guilty for not being a master carpenter, a plumber, and an electrician all rolled into one. So here's what I want you to do next. Look at your to-do list for this house. Pick the one project that has been haunting you, the one you've been dreading because you don't really know how to do it. Cross it off. Pick up the phone, call a professional, get a quote. And when you write that check, don't think of it as losing money. Think of it as buying your weekend back. Because true wealth isn't just about the balance in your bank account. True wealth is having the time to sit at your dining table, whether you built it or bought it, and actually enjoy the life you're living. Don't let your ego be the most expensive thing in your house.